out.
That was so funny. I know. I've talked to him since.
I think we'll be fine. We're gonna do real small and just to get it and
Ask me that.
uncovered. And then we'll do a larger dedication ceremony in April. And that's, Kim's got the literal and figurative swing for the fences, see if we can get the reds.
I know.
Send somebody, take
Oh,
you
let's
up
be
on potentially
inclusive.
having a carousel there, maybe do like,
But that is.
see if we can get
I did
from
that
Amazon like little white
was-
bullhorn
we were at-
things. Yeah. Opening days are always-
You know, or he was a really good kid.
It's in March.
No, but no,
Okay,
Yeah.
that actually works in our favor, so they'll, as soon as they unveil the schedule, we can see if they're home, when they're home and away, and when they're home. Yeah.
Okay, Dave's back. We'll start again. Please call the roll.
Ms. Franklin?
Here.
Ms. French?
Here.
Ms. Ragu?
Here.
Mr. Prithridge?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Mayor Snavely?
Here. Okay, at this point, we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance, and you're welcome to join us if you'd like. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And the first item is approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to do so?
So moved.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any changes or corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the agenda's approved, and we'll move to public participation. Our first item is an appointment to the Housing Advisory Commission. We have one unexpired term. It actually expires on June 2026, so we need one person to fulfill that spot.
And nominate Wade Warren.
Okay, it's been moved. Are there any other nominations? All those in favor indicate.
Second? I'll second.
Oh, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
And just thank you to all the people who applied for that position. We could only nominate one, but we encourage people who applied and perhaps were not appointed to try again. And we had two great applicants.
Absolutely. And there will be other boards with other vacancies shortly.
Paco has a vacancy.
Yeah.
Public art's pretty cool.
Yep.
Okay. All right, next, we have a proclamation. Yay. So whereas Caroline Scott Harrison was born in Oxford, Ohio at 2 South Campus Avenue on October 1st, 1832. And whereas in 1852, Benjamin Harrison graduated from Miami University and Caroline graduated from the Oxford Female Institute, they married in Oxford on October 20th, 1853 in her parents' home at 131 West High Street. And whereas Benjamin won the U.S. presidential election in 1888 and Caroline and Benjamin left for Washington, D.C. in 1889, Benjamin Harrison became the 23rd President of the United States when he was inaugurated on March 4th of 1889. And whereas Caroline was the first in the White House to have a decorated Christmas tree, and she was also responsible for having electricity installed in the White House, and whereas an advocate of education for women, Caroline agreed to raise funds for the Johns Hopkins Medical School in 1890 on the condition that women be admitted on the same basis as men. And whereas Caroline became the first President General of the newly formed Daughters of the American Revolution in 1890, and whereas she died in the White House on October 25th, 1892, and was mourned by the nation, funerals were held both in Washington, D.C. and in Indianapolis, Indiana, where she's buried at Crown Hill Cemetery beside her husband, who died in 1901. And whereas the Oxford Community Arts Center, located in the historic 1849 Oxford Female Institute building, was established on October 29, 2001, and proudly celebrates its anniversary this month, continuing a legacy of creativity, education, and community in the very place where Caroline was born. Now therefore, I, William B. Snavely, Mayor of the City of Oxford, Ohio, hereby proclaim October 29th, 2025 as Caroline Scott Harrison Day, and urge all citizens to celebrate her importance here in Oxford and as First Lady. All right. And we have someone very appropriate to accept this proclamation. Yeah, let's get it. Just more Friday.
Thank you so much. All right, you ready? Cool. Okay, I was gonna say, I don't have to start it, right? You do that. Good evening, everyone. I'm Heidi Schiller. I'm the Executive Director for the Oxford Community Arts Center, and tonight I'm excited to share with you our year in review for 2024-25. So as we enter our 25th year, the Oxford Community Arts Center is a vibrant nonprofit arts center housed within the historic 176-year-old Oxford Female Institute. We're home to artists, instructors, performers, and community groups. Using a combination of strategic planning and intentional governance through a wide range of classes, exhibitions, performances, and events, we serve as a bridge between creativity and community. Our mission is to enrich lives and ensure the future through the arts. Everything we do, whether it's on the stage, in the classroom, or on the sidewalk, is about bringing people together through shared creative experiences. We'd like to show you what that looks like in action. The next few slides give a snapshot of OCAC's scope and scale, showing how we bring our mission to life every day. Firstly, the OCAC provides space and support for local artists to showcase their work. In 2024-25, we curated 22 art exhibitions featuring 154 local artists and 695 pieces of art. Our live performance series is equally dynamic, featuring a diverse lineup of talent across 3 performance series. Last year, we engaged 100 regional and national performers, including 88 Ohio residents, in 20 live shows that entertain the Oxford community. Our signature events engage more than 15,000 participants in person, and our digital reach continues to grow, over 5,700 online followers and 2,200 newsletter subscribers. That number reflects a building that's alive with activity every day. On any given day, you might see a morning watercolor class, a community group meeting in the North Parlor, or one of our volunteer committees planning an upcoming event. A resident artist may be welcoming a student into their studio while children arrive for after-school art or dance classes. With grants from the Ohio Arts Council, the Arts Wave United Fund of Cincinnati, the Greater Oxford Community Foundation, and the City of Oxford, we bring over 26 memorable cultural experiences, such as Ox Chalks the Walks, to enliven our neighborhood. We continue to seek out ways for participants to overcome financial barriers by providing scholarships to those who may need extra assistance through our friends from the Kiwanis Club of Oxford. Community support for 2024-25 was unprecedented, with 260 individuals and businesses donating to the OCAC's annual campaign and 85 volunteers giving over 2,500 hours that saved the OCAC over $67,000 in personnel costs and makes our work possible. In all, the OCAC organized over 158 arts experiences, from classes to exhibits, performers, and community events. These experiences are possible through collaborations with 20 Oxford organizations, nonprofits, and Miami University departments, and how we're able to increase our community impact through a wide array of programs and initiatives. And after transforming the infrequently used tower room into a sewing lab, we've been able to offer skill-based craft arts like sewing to homeschool groups, youth, and adults. In 2024, OCAC represented Oxford for the third time in the Blink Parade. Now, sidelight, I think I did this last year, but I was so proud I just went ahead and jumped the gun. So we're just going to show it again. Our illuminated float, drawn to light, symbolized how art connects us and spotlighted Oxford on a regional stage before 200,000 spectators. The Gritty Canvas, a free class for cancer patients and their caregivers, illustrates how we use art to support healing and personal growth. It's a small class, but it's one of our most meaningful. With an average annual income budget of just over $450,000, we are grateful to note that over 32% of our income comes from individual donations and grants, and an additional 12% is raised by our one single fundraiser in April. The Oxford Community Arts Center entered fiscal year 26 in a strong financial position, and we anticipate ending the year ahead of budget projections through a combination of individual giving, grant support, earned revenue, and program income. What started with community input meetings over 24 months ago, the OCAC's Phase 4 campaign is moving forward with SHP's Architectural Master Plan and Ignite Philanthropies campaign management to transform the OCAC's capacity into a year-round community hub and economic development partner. The centerpiece of the campaign will be the second floor renovation, 3 new classrooms, more artist studios, a technology center, rentable meeting space, and more will make this floor a lively place indeed in complement to our 3 floors that are already at capacity. And our 30 resident artists will be thrilled to have air conditioning to make their studios true havens for art expression and entrepreneurship. Thank you for this opportunity to highlight the transformative power of community arts made possible through the continued support from the City of Oxford in all ways that matter. We're proud to serve Oxford as we honor our historic roots, strive to meet today's needs, and imagine a future that opens doors for all. Thank you very much.
Heidi, thank you very much. I think the City of Oxford and the Oxford area community are just so honored and lucky to have you and to have OCAC in our community, and they do so much and they touch so many people, so congratulations.
Thank you.
And if I could just, 20 years ago when I moved to town, the structure was kind of, I think, mostly vacant at the time, and to see what it has become, how much time it takes, but just through the sheer hard work of people in the community, and there are a lot of wonderful things about Oxford, but I think the Oxford Community Arts Center is the heart and the soul of the city of Oxford. Like, my daughters learned to dance there, they learned to sing there, I learned to play guitar there, my wife learned to sew there, and so it's transformative. So thank you. I wanted to thank you and everyone for making this community so much better, thanks to the OCAC.
Can I get a recording of that? That's the kind of testimony we need. And I want to thank you all for all your hard work. It is truly a pleasure to be in Oxford, to be a part of Oxford, and I cannot say how much we enjoy our partnership with the City of Oxford. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. At this time, we will move on to public comments. And anyone in this massive crowd who would like to address council about items that are not on tonight's agenda, or if they're on the consent agenda, this would be your opportunity. If you want to talk about something that is on the agenda, just wait until it comes up and you'll have an opportunity then. So if you'd like to, come forward, give us your name and where you live, and we'll give you 5 minutes to say whatever you want to say. And that's what I kind of thought. All right, well, thank you very much, and if you have something to say about something coming up on the agenda, please come forward at that time. Okay, next we have the consent agenda. Can I have a motion to approve it?
So moved.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any items to be removed for discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda is approved, and we will move to resolutions. Please read the first one.
A resolution adopting a statement indicating the services that the City of Oxford, Ohio will provide to the territory proposed to be annexed into the City of Oxford, Ohio pursuant to a petition filed with the Board of County Commissioners of Butler County, Ohio, as provided by Ohio Revised Code Section 709023C.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Doug?
Yes. So Miami University has submitted a proposed annexation to the Butler County Commissioners to annex 157.217 acres of land. And this is the remaining portion of Miami University Airport, which is presently outside the city's corporate boundaries. I will be serving as the statutory agent for the petitioner. The airport, of course, is owned by Miami University and managed by the Cincinnati Northern Kentucky International Airport, CVG. The airport is uniquely positioned to become a hub for innovation and advanced air mobility, as is outlined in our economic development strategic plan. So annexing this land to the city will enable infrastructure and extensions and upgrades, as well as grant opportunities for development. So this is an expedited Type 2 annexation, and we're required to adopt these two resolutions. The first one is a statement indicating the services that the city will provide upon annexation of this property, and the second one deals with zoning and buffers that might be required. So I'm commenting on both resolutions now.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone from the public who would like to address this resolution? Okay, thank you very much. Counselors, any comments or questions?
I do have a question about, so if Miami is gonna own the airport, does that mean that the city laws don't apply there like it doesn't on campus, or is that very different?
No, I think that stands, as far as zoning goes, but we work closely with Miami, especially with economic development, because any grant opportunities, they would need the city to apply for. But yeah, the same rule applies. They would, I guess I'd have to probably talk to Chris about this, because they're leasing it to CVG, and CVG is a two-state entity,
CVG
unlike
would have to
Miami.
follow our-
So if it was a Miami airport, Miami was building there, they would submit their building plans to the state rather than the city. They would still need our infrastructure, water, sewer, so on and so forth, so they'd submit those plans to us. But as far as the zoning goes, that's not our jurisdiction.
I can't imagine any type of discrimination would ever happen, but if it were, just wondering if that person could still seek our help if there was some type with the Civil Rights Commission?
You mean like an employment?
Yeah, yeah.
That, I think, we might have some jurisdiction on, but I need to research that further.
Okay.
Can I ask
Thank
a
you.
follow-up question about taxation, which is, it's Miami-owned land and they're a non-taxable entity, but I think Miami is anticipating doing economic development, which might include leasing to a private company. I mean, they would pay income taxes, but what happens if a private company leases, for-profit company leases land from a state entity like Miami University? What happens property tax-wise?
I believe our understanding is that if it's a private company leasing from public land, they still pay, they would pay. I believe property.
Yes.
Yeah, right? You got it right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, and so I guess we're not to that place yet, but I mean,
That's
even
future
CVG
vision.
is operating, so I just think we should clarify that, because it would be,
Well, of course, that's up to the county auditor to make that determination.
And what I would say is, the answer is yes.
okay.
I mean, if a private for-profit entity leases public land, there are taxes paid on that.
Okay. Okay.
All right, thank you very much for the clarification, appreciate it. Are there any other comments or questions?
Thank you. I think it's a good idea.
Okay. All those in favor of the resolution indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted, and you can read the one that Doug was referring to, B.
A resolution regarding zoning buffers in a proposed annexation of property containing 157.217 acres from Oxford Township, Butler County, Ohio, to the City of Oxford, Butler County, Ohio, pursuant to the requirement of Section 709023C of the Ohio Revised Code.
Okay, is there a motion to adopt this
So moved.
resolution?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Doug, you have anything to add to this one?
Well, this is the second piece of legislation required by an expedited Type 2 annexation. And, if council adopts this one, as we will be forwarding both pieces of legislation to the county commissioners. It's pretty straightforward. If we've done everything right, the annexation will have to be adopted by the county commissioners. And as you probably know, part of the agreement when the annexation laws were amended, I think in 2001, there was discussion between cities and townships, and they came up with this expedited Type 2. So if this property were taxed under the property tax laws, they would pay both the city's property tax portion as well as the townships. So it is an expedited Type 2. We'll be providing both pieces of legislation to the county commissioners. We've notified the abutting property owners. We've notified the township and the city. Even though I'm the statutory agent, we're still required to notify the city of the annexation. So we'll wrap all that up and forward it to the county commissioners, and then they will have a hearing to adopt this
Okay,
annexation.
super, thank you very much. Is there anyone from the public who would like to address this resolution? Thank you. Counselors?
So this is about a buffer. So our zoning would not apply to it. I presume it might be zoned MU. But this is, I guess Sam or who, what might that, because right now we have a relatively sleepy airport. We've got little prop planes coming and going. But, if things changed and this thing became a hub that was, what would such a buffer actually mean? Is it, because I know airports often have kind of like airports can create nuisance conditions. I'm not anticipating this, but I'm guessing this is what this is about.
Sam,
Thank you.
welcome.
Yeah, thank you. I can address that.
Thank you.
The zoning buffer is really a connection to the Ohio Revised Code to make sure we're complying with Ohio Revised Code for the council process. We've been working with CVG, Zachary Moore and I, and the county on actually not the opposite of not the nuisance that the airport might create, but the protection it might need to be economically viable into the future for the surrounding areas.
Okay.
We have not brought that forward yet because of coordination with the county, because it would be a shared implementation. As far as nuisances that airports might create for noise, I think is maybe what you're alluding to. We haven't gotten into that. That wasn't the main point of that ordinance. But that's certainly a consideration we can do as a separate project if the airport were to grow to the point where there would be a lot more traffic or freight, air freight types of things. Right now, the main focus of the zoning overlay on the outside of the airport for the surrounding non-Miami properties is about protection for tall structures that might encroach
Okay.
into the airspace.
Okay.
But that hasn't been brought
All
forward.
right, I just didn't know what was being buffered from what, so it's more just the airport functionality.
Well, the zoning buffer reference in ORC is about making sure that there's, the adjacent land uses are at least considered.
Okay,
It doesn't mean that it's implementing a specific regulatory scheme. It's
Okay.
just that the jurisdictions are aware that there is going to be a change in the boundary.
okay,
And that's really all it's about.
okay,
So the ORC hasn't been touched for a few decades on that topic, so
Okay.
I think
Yeah.
Part of it has, but not the.
I was just trying to figure out what
lease support.
zoning had to do with it
As the
exactly.
resolution states, basically, it's, you know, if we determine that the use is incompatible with the current county or township zoning regulations in the adjacent land remaining, then we might have to require a buffer. But,
Okay.
you know, it's already an airport.
Yeah,
You know,
okay.
we're just annexing an existing use.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are there further comments or discussion? All those in favor of the resolution indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Resolution is adopted. We'll move to the next one.
A resolution authorizing the release of a public improvement bond in the amount of $240,577.42, Heritage Vineyard subdivision, and acceptance of a new public improvement bond in the amount of $123,569.81, ensuring the completion of Heritage Vineyard subdivision public improvements.
Okay, is there a motion to adopt the resolution?
So moved.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded. Mike?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Construction on improvements is nearly complete for this subdivision, including the most recent installation of the surface course of asphalt throughout the neighborhood. With that, the developer has asked the city council to reduce the bond required. We recommend you do that, and the new amount for the new bond to be posted would include a 10% maintenance and guarantee bond on the new asphalt, as well as enough money to complete the sidewalk network and installation of landscape through the development.
Super. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Is there anyone from the public who would like to address this resolution? Okay. Counselors, any questions or comments?
So now we can snowplow the entire subdivision, and it's okay.
No
Good.
snow.
All right.
Yeah, we'll see. All right. All those in favor of the resolution indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted, and we'll move to the last one.
A resolution authorizing the city manager to apply for a community development block grant for up to $180,000 for construction of the new skate park as a recreational facility and provide a match of up to $110,000.
Okay, is there a motion to adopt this one?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Jessica?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and councilors. As you know, the city has received significant public input regarding the closure of the public skate park that was done for safety reasons, and our community has expressed a desire to have a high-quality skate park. To respond to this community request, we are requesting authorization to apply and submit to the Community Development Block Grant an application for a new skate park. We are a part of a cooperative agreement with Butler County for CDBG funding, and populations under 50,000 are encouraged to do this, and we are allocated 10% of what they get for CDBG each year. We can apply for more than 10%, but it's not guaranteed. This 180,000 is more likely than that 10%, but we're gonna try. On average, from year to year, it ranges from like 117 to 130 is what we typically get, but each year we don't know where it's gonna land, but it's usually in that range. In order for a project to be qualified for CDBG, it has to meet what's called a national objective. And we do, because the areas that are surrounding the skate park are considered low to moderate income areas. And then this will also be publicly owned and open to the general public without restriction for income. So it's considered a public facility. We did have a conversation at the CIP meeting where we talked about using CDBG for improvements at Leonard Howe, for shade at the new dog park, and also a new playground at another park, and this will replace that. So we are deferring on those projects with this. And so we intend to apply for up to $180,000, and then we'll make that local match, and we would recommend it.
Okay, super. Thank you very much. Is there anyone from the public who would like to address this one? Okay, counselors?
Yes, there's no such thing as a free lunch, so there are trade-offs. In listening to the public and doing this, other things can't be done.
Yeah.
And I think we heard from folks about this, so I.
We did, and I have to say that despite some of the frankly nasty comments that council has received from a couple of people, and the kind responses from our Parks and Recreation Director. Council is aware of it and is trying to do our very best to respond to an issue that is important to a lot of people in town. And so I think this is very appropriate for us to do. Is there any other comments or questions? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Just a commentary that if you want to communicate with council, we appreciate it, and we'll listen to even if they're rude. But you don't need to be rude. Be constructive, because a lot of times you'll find that council may very well agree with you. And in this case, I think council really did. And so it was an interesting interchange. All right, we'll move on to ordinances, first reading.
An ordinance to amend the codified ordinances of the City of Oxford, Ohio by adding new chapter 746 titled Prohibition on Source of Income Discrimination in Housing, defining terms, providing penalties.
Okay, we don't have a motion because it's first reading, but we will have Jessica start us off here.
So this legislation was requested and drafted by Vice Mayor Ragu and Councilor Smith. And then we did take it to the Housing Advisory Commission for review on October 2nd, 2025. They endorsed the concept of this legislation, and they asked me to have it reviewed by Legal Aid of Southwest Ohio and our partners, Housing Opportunities Made Equal, Home Cincy. I sent the legislation to both of them, and they provided a few pieces of input and clarification that we have since added. Namely was a clarification around retaliation, which is in the Ohio Revised Code, but it brought it down to this legislation so you don't have to go look in two places. And secondly was adding the civil charge in addition to a criminal charge. This will give the city more options when exploring enforcement. And with that, I'll turn it over to Vice Mayor Ragu.
Great.
Yeah, this is very, very exciting. I mean, this is something that a lot of people in the community have been working towards for a long time, and it's a really nice opportunity. And so and I'll just quote just a little bit of a advisory committee from Ohio that presented to the U.S. Committee of Civil Rights in October 2024 of last year. So the main reason why this is super important is that everywhere, including Oxford, there's a shortage of good, safe, decent, affordable housing, especially places that will accept vouchers. And so what that leaves families with, and veterans and single moms with, is that they are forced to live in this centralized area of poverty in which they may or may not be taken advantage of by their landlords. So, and I'll just quote one part of this presentation that they gave to the Civil Rights Committee. Our report on source of income discrimination recommends that Ohio amend its law on housing discrimination to include source of income discrimination as a protected class in the same way that race, disability status, and religion are protected. Amending the law would help lift Ohioans from areas of concentrated poverty to areas of opportunity, and in doing so would benefit Ohio's children. One study cited in our report showed that moving children, particularly young children, could change the entire trajectory of the child's life. So the hope with this is that you have a source of lawful income. Can you then take your family to a place that might better your children's life? And then the other part of the report also looked at what are the benefits to the landlords. And so I won't list all of them, but there were about 5 main categories that they listed. The biggest one being inspections, that they advocate that inspections could benefit landlords by ensuring that the tenant is maintaining the property in a habitable condition. So we would be one of, I think, 19 cities, I believe. I think there's 18 others in Ohio that have done this. Our state does not have this in our ordinances, so we're filling in those gaps from where the Federal Housing Act doesn't have and our state legislature doesn't. So this is really exciting, and hopefully it gives a lot of opportunity to families.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone from the public who would like to address this one? Welcome, Ann.
Ann Pure. I live on Dana Drive in the Southern Knolls. And I want to thank Councilor Smith and Vice Mayor Ragu for bringing this ordinance. Ordinances that come directly from council members, in my experience, rather than the channeling of city priorities through administrative staff to council, are less common. They often reflect some very specific interests. They often don't require immediate budget or staffing requests and may not fit neatly in under annual goals and priorities. And I perceive that these criteria are true of the proposed ordinance. At last night's meeting of OSH, Oxford Area Solutions for Housing, Councilor Smith shared the ordinance and responded to a number of questions. And in fact, we had to cut the Q&A short. We had a guest speaker, but people were very interested in more details and had some questions that really went far beyond the ordinance itself. But they were very interested in this statement on the part of the city. I serve as chair of the city's HAC, and Jessica has already reported just now on our recent deliberations. And I thank you for getting this on the agenda, Jessica. Councilors Franklin and Bracken are members of that commission, so we're part of that conversation. At the HAC meeting, we had a lively conversation, provided support for the spirit of the ordinance, and endorsed the version that we examined. There were questions primarily about enforcement, also about the strength of the ordinance when the identification of violations relies on the initiative of renters and who may be afraid to bring complaints, and the lack of a current mechanism for responding to renters' complaints. Subsequent reviews from legal aid and the Housing Opportunities Made Equal offered revisions, but indicated that this is a strong ordinance. In spite of these and perhaps other remaining questions, I hope that council will, after that second reading, support the ordinance. I believe that an aspirational goal or priority of housing for all requires explicit commitment to inclusion and adapting to the circumstances of the most vulnerable members of our community who rely, as Chantal, Vice Mayor Ragu said, on sources like SSI, child support payments and alimony, and choice vouchers, among other sources, to pay living expenses. We should not hesitate, in spite of the fact that we were told last night by our guest speaker that choice vouchers are threatened and that the number of those available in the future may be considerably fewer than they currently are. That can't stop this kind of statement of support. Housing is a basic human right, a civil right, and as safety nets are being shredded, these commitments of values into action are essential.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Is there anyone else who would like to address this ordinance? Okay. Councilors, comments or questions?
I have a question about the listing of the source of income, just because from looking at other cases where there's been a little bit of contention, it seems like explicitly labeling what source of income is included may be beneficial. Correct me if I'm wrong, but things like in that report they had talked about emergency assistance payments, veterans benefits, disability benefits. Those are the three that I could see that weren't necessarily in there listed. I know that those could fall under the public or private assistance payments or subsidies, but I didn't know if adding those to the list may raise less question.
Jessica, do you have any comments on that? You might not because you've not heard the question before, but.
I don't have an answer this evening, but I could bring back an answer for the next meeting. I can look into it. Can you, I was gonna write it down. Can you name those three again?
Mm-hmm. It was emergency assistance payments, veterans benefits,
Okay.
disability benefits payment, or disability benefits, yeah. Those are the three that I saw listed that weren't explicitly in ours.
Which would be in the second whereas. This is on page 75 for those who are.
No, I think it's in the source of income definitions.
Mm-hmm. On 77.
Are you referring to 746.02, where it identifies source of income discrimination prohibited, and it doesn't identify those forms of funding?
Yeah, or in 01, in the definition.
Sources of
saying that
income mean
It includes
any lawful
public
source
or
of
private
Mm-hmm.
assistant payments, but I think Chantel wanted to elaborate more so on those specific types of public assistance in the definition of source of income, which is.
I think those are pretty standard sources of income that could be used. And it would be helpful, I think, to have it in there and listed, personally.
I'll research it and we can
Okay.
bring it back. Yep.
Yeah, thank you. Other comments? Yeah.
Could I just, and from the ordinance, I want to commend you, and I'll come back to that in a minute. But just for those of us who are new to this is anticipating a kind of problem that happens to people. And I wonder if you could just put it in kind of like anecdotal terms of what's happening to people that an ordinance like this is necessary. I think it's implied with the ordinance, but just for the sake of the public. What kind of discrimination do people face?
That's a good question. I mean, to my understanding, I think we only have 1 or 2 apartment complexes that accept vouchers in town. Because I think the second one is gone, right? Is there only one? So there's only one. And hypothetically, the one may not have the best living conditions. So people are really tied to if they're on disability or they're, a veteran, and that is what they're using for their housing, they only have one place in town to go to. So that means that they essentially don't have the choice to live anywhere else. So if you have a single mom with 3 kids and they're living off of their vouchers, they can't take their kids anywhere else. So their kids are being put through a lot.
But now they could go to another complex.
Right.
That, and the fact that that's their form of payment is the voucher, they cannot be discriminated against because,
Correct.
as
For that
opposed to
reason.
someone who's able to present cash, and so I guess the discrimination comes with people are kind of like, oh, those are vouchers and we don't want those people here. Is that the kind of dynamic that happens to people? Okay.
Right. So a landlord could still pick and choose which tenant they want to rent to. This doesn't mean they have to accept everybody, but it just means that you can't, just like you can't discriminate on race, religion, that kind of thing, you also can't discriminate on this source of lawful income.
Okay. Now that helps a lot, and for those of us, we're privileged enough to not have to worry about the sort of thing, it's important to know that kind of discrimination exists. And it's a form of money, right? But some people's money is potentially better, it's treated differently than other people's money. And so so I just want to thank you, Councilor Ragu and Councilors, Vice Mayor Ragu and Councilor Smith. For those of you who are in the audience, might be future city councilors. We are legislators, but we don't do a lot of lawmaking. We often adopt things that are presented to us, and often they work their way up through staff. But I think it's an important role. We get elected as legislators, and sometimes to take initiative on a piece of legislation, it's important. So I'm glad you're going out by doing something important, so thank you.
I agree. Thank you very much, both of you. I think that it's a very important piece of legislation.
Well, I just wanted to say a quick thanks to everybody, because I feel like I played like a teeny little part in this. Chantel had already pretty much worked on the ordinance. Jessica picked it up and ran with it, took it to HAC. You guys got it in front of Chris. Everybody tweaked it, and it really came together as something very nice.
But initiative is something, in our system,
There's a
to
lot
take
to
initiative
say,
on
yeah.
something is the first step. So yes, but we are an awesome team, but thanks to those of you who took initiative.
And
Okay.
I also want to say, we did talk at HAC about the fact that, this can sometimes be challenging to prove, but you can't enforce an ordinance that doesn't exist. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
That's true. All right. We will move on then to our second first reading.
An ordinance amending ordinance number 3783, supplemental budget ordinance number 7, to make supplemental appropriations for fiscal year 2025.
Okay, and we don't have Heidi.
Ms. Ridenhour is out sick today, so
Okay.
I volunteered to read her staff report for you. So the supplement, I'm just going to.
Yeah, that's great.
Um,
You wear many hats,
And
Jessica.
this is one of many. Never a dull moment. Her supplemental for this one is not much, but $10,000 for the street fund. This will to be a budget appropriation for additional funding for contracted snow removal, in case we get a snow in 2025. $1,500 to the Board of Standards Fund 414. This is to make adjustments to our revenue and appropriation for fees remitted to the state of Ohio. With our housing expansion projects, this is higher than what we anticipated, so that's a good thing. And then $200 to the landfill investment fund. It's just budgeted, an adjustment to budgeted revenue and appropriations for that. And that's it.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone from the public who would like to address this resolution, or this ordinance? Okay. Counselors, questions? All right?
Jessica, you said 200?
Yeah.
200, yep.
Yep.
Okay.
That tells you just how carefully our dimes and nickels
Yeah.
are being
Absolutely. Every
guarded
nickel
by
and
the
every
city of
dime.
Oxford.
That's good. All right, any other questions? If not, we'll move to second readings.
An ordinance repealing Oxford Codified Ordinance Section 1139 entitled Variances and adopting new Oxford Codified Ordinance Section 1139 entitled Variances for the purpose of amending the code to comply with Ohio case law.
Okay, is there a motion to adopt this ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Sam, you described it last time. Anything new?
No changes, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
What you do is, Mr. Mayor, the law director's happy with the change.
All right, is there anyone from the public who would like to address this ordinance? Okay. Counselors have any new comments or questions?
I guess that I was just, to me, the important part is the decision standards, which is what people on the BZA, I mean, that's how you make your decisions, right? And the Duncan standards A through H are the same, but I'm hoping that when you have these conversations, I think that the change in language from unreasonable to inequitable and present substantial justice is meaningful. I think it's a meaningful change. And if I were on the BZA, it would help me think about, like, well, what's unreasonable? Like,
Right.
but equity is like, what would be fair in relation to other people who are similarly situated in a zone or something, to me is actually a more rigorous standard. Like, I can think about, like, and so I guess my hope is that when working with the BZA, and there might, I presume there might be a little bit of training to just say, hey, these standards are a little bit different. I hope that you have that conversation, because I just think it's a more meaningful way, if I were in the BZA, to think about what's fair for variance, because that's ultimately what a variance is about, like,
I agree.
fairness.
I agree with you, David, and I have served on BZA, and that often became an issue.
Yeah.
And I think there are a couple of cases that were held in the past few years that caused a lot of consternation in the community, and it's because of exactly that issue where it's, well, okay, I might do the same thing, so it's reasonable. And I think this gives it more meat and something that they can talk
Because
about.
practical difficulties, like, what's hard for somebody? I mean, like, developers, like, there are a lot of reasons why it's hard for them to not maximize the use of their property.
Well, and they usually think of it as, well, it would be easier if I did it this way.
But ultimately, I think the variance is about fairness, like, and because we shouldn't be giving out variances like candy, we should give them out when undue hardship was a much more, like, you could understand what that standard was. It was like, it was a burden that was placed on you. I guess what I'm just saying is, I hope it becomes part of the conversation, this language, because I think it's important. So thank
It
you.
is a phrase that we already had in our rules of procedure.
Okay,
So, but this gives it a little more visibility in the code of ordinances as well. So
Okay.
it's both places now.
oh, great, okay, thank you.
So-
Okay, any other questions or comments? All right, you may call the roll.
Ms. French?
Yes.
Mr. Prithridge?
Yes.
Ms. Ragu?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Franklin?
Yes.
Mayor Snavely?
Yes, this ordinance is adopted, and we'll move to the second.
An ordinance by Oxford City Council authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with Duke Energy Corporation for the sale of .84 acres of city-owned land located on Millville Oxford Road and declaring property surplus.
Okay, is there a motion to adopt this ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Michael?
Good evening again. No changes from first reading.
Okay, and everybody knows where this is, in the dip. Used to be Counselor Green's property, I believe. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah, okay. Is there anyone from the public who would like to address this ordinance? Okay, counselors?
I guess I just have a question, which is, when we have a piece of property and decide to dispose of it, like, I guess, as a planner, I always think about choices, like if it were this versus something else. Was this just kind of a thing of like, we weren't thinking of selling it and they approached us? Do we ever think about, well, what would be a potential other use of this? Because once it's not our property anymore, it's not our property. And so I guess, yeah, was there thought that this property didn't really have any other function other than this? And
So we acquired this property because of the need to widen US 27. Through negotiations, we would have preferred to just buy the right-of-way we needed.
okay.
For whatever reason, we bought the whole parcel at the time. Years go by, Duke has maxed out, Duke Energy has maxed out their sites further to the south, and there's no room for a fiber trailer. So Duke Energy approached the city for a parcel. We evaluated all the parcels along South 27, and this one made the most sense. One, we recoup our costs back from the original purchase, and two, much of this land is in floodplain, would not be
Okay.
developable. So we recommend we proceed with the sale.
Okay, because we can't really see any other, I mean, other than conservation, there's not
I
really a
don't,
purpose.
yeah, I can't recall. This property has come up in discussions a number of times over the past 30 years,
Yeah.
and nobody really wants to develop anything in that location.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
are we ready? Please call the roll.
Mr. Prithridge?
Yes.
Ms. Ragu?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Franklin?
Yes.
Ms. French?
Yes.
Mayor Snavely?
Yes. This ordinance is adopted, and we'll move to announcements and communication. And I'll begin with City Manager Elliott.
Okay, I'm happy to share with you that last week, the city released a request for proposals for design-build services to construct a 1 megawatt AC solar PV system at our municipal wastewater treatment facility. The facility is the city's largest user of electricity. It used a total of 2.3 megawatt hours in 2024, with an average monthly demand of 462 kilowatt hours. So proposals are due November 14th. It's estimated that the system could offset nearly 75% of the facility's electric consumption. The estimated cost is about $2.5 million. The city plans to utilize the investment tax credit direct pay provisions under the federal law, which could provide a reimbursement of 30% of capital costs. So we have a tight timeline there in order to take advantage of these investment tax credits, but we think we can achieve them. So very happy to announce that to council.
Excellent.
And of course, there is a lot of discussion at the state, county, local level about real property taxes, rising property taxes, you know, with our recent reval and the next year update, values are expected to go up again. So the Butler County Commission decided to implement one of two provisions in the recently adopted state budget related to property taxes. The so-called piggyback provision authorized the commissioners to double the homestead exemption and the 2.5% owner occupancy credit. So the commissioners are implementing the homestead exemption only, which exempts $40,000 of a homestead's true value from all property taxation. The state reimburses the city for the original exemption. However, by doubling this benefit, the city will suffer a loss in property tax revenue equal to the amount received as a reimbursement from the state. So the county auditor sent out an estimate to the city. It was estimated to be about $24,000 for tax year 2025 that we would lose. However, this doubling of the benefit It's not available to those beneficiaries who did not meet the income eligibility requirements. So we believe it'll be less than that, and she mentioned that in a recent news article. So eligible homeowners must be at least 65 years old or permanently and totally disabled with an annual income of $40,000 or less. And also, the commissioners announced that they will roll back approximately half of the county's inside property tax millage, benefiting all Butler County taxpayers. So probably more to come later on because there's still discussion. The governor's committee that met has a number of recommendations, and we'll see what happens in the future with the legislature at the state level. Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you very much. Michael?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Chief Jones?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple public service announcements. I'm loving this fall weather. I may be the only one who does with the cooler temperatures. What I don't love, though, is the less hours of daylight as you're experiencing. So that's just something what we will see, with Halloween and different events coming up, pedestrian safety with darkness may bring on some additional traffic crashes. So I've just urged motorists to be cautious, and also increase in deer activity and deer crashes. So be mindful of that. Also, this weekend is family weekend for Miami University, so we're happy to welcome parents and family members to town, but you can expect increased traffic, and especially around the events that they're hosting in the football game. But with that, we'll have a lot of officers working. We are having a coffee with a cop Saturday morning in front of our station from 8 to 11. Invite anybody who wants to stop by for conversation and coffee, just informally with us. And then also on Saturday is a prescription drug take back day. It's a DEA take back, a nationwide day. So we will be at the Tri from 10 to 2. And you can drop off your unneeded prescription drugs there. And it's a big effort to prevent drug diversion from happening. So a couple of those events coming up. And then that following weekend, of course, will be Halloween, which is traditionally a very busy weekend for us. Officers will be working hard over the next few weeks to maintain public safety, maintain order. October is always a busy month for us. Councilor French is going to do a ride-along, though, on Halloween. So in the fire service, they would call her a wheel chalk, basically nothing happens. So we're hoping that is actually what happens.
See, they're coming for you right now.
They are, yeah. That's my right, actually.
Anyway, just wanted to make those announcements.
Okay, thank you very much. Chief Deathridge? Okay. Chad?
Evening, Mayor, councilors. Just a quick Parks and Rec upcoming event update and friendly reminder. So Thursday, October 30th, will be the Uptown Trick or Treat. That's a Parks and Rec event, annual event that you're probably all familiar with. But we're partnering with our friends from Enjoy Oxford and the Lions Club again this year. So just a friendly reminder, stop by. Increased activity uptown next Thursday.
And before anyone asks, as they will on social media, Trick or Treat in the city of Oxford is on Halloween,
Correct.
the 31st,
As it should be, right?
as it always is, 5:30 to 7:30. Okay, thank you. Sam? I just needed to get that out there.
Verbally and in writing, right?
Yes, exactly.
To add to the Saturday opportunities, I wanted to invite council members to 10 o'clock on Saturday at the Talawanda School Board office. There's going to be an unveiling of a historic marker for Harry S. Tobey, who built many notable buildings in Oxford. It'll be a chilly morning, so it'll be, I'm sure, a few quick speeches. The great-granddaughter of Harry S. Tobey will be there, so that'll be nice.
Okay, thank you very much. Jessica, okay? No?
Nothing, thank you.
Okay. Nothing for you, Chris, all right? Michael?
I wanted to talk about our partners in Oxford Area Solutions for Housing. Planning is well underway for the Oxford Winter House, which will be the cold shelter for December, January, and February. If you go to their website, oshox.org, there is a fact sheet and a volunteer sign-up sheet. and a donation sheet because they will need some money yet to get the location ready to go. But planning is well underway.
So they are welcoming donations
They
from the
are.
public. Thank you.
Sam stole most of what I was going to say about the, it's okay, Harry Toby marker unveiling. But yeah, it's at 131 West Chestnut Street. It should be really exciting. Speaking of places on Chestnut, we wrapped up our 2025 cemetery tours this year. They went really well. It was really interesting. I've thoroughly enjoyed kind of highlighting a new group of folks to talk about every year. We had Miami historians on this tour. We had attend the tour. So Miami historians, Oxford historians, and family members of those who had passed, who we talked about on the tour. So it was really great to talk about the history, and family members were able to share memories of when some of the people we talked about on the tour were living, which was really cool. So it was just a great opportunity, and we're looking forward to starting it up again in 2026. And then shout out to ASG for continuing to come to our meetings and just keeping the students involved. And it's really great to see students applying for boards and commissions. We really appreciate that. And one thing that I did hear when Counselor Franklin and I attended the ASG meeting last week, and related to what Chief Jones said about kind of the lack of sunlight, there were questions from students around, particularly on Chestnut, extra streetlights. So Mike and team, I may be in your inbox just asking some very no-pressure follow-up questions on that, just to make sure that we're addressing that student concern. And yes, I'm hoping for a busy shift on Halloween, but knowing my luck, it'll be the quietest Halloween in Oxford history. So thank you to JJ and team for letting me bum a ride for the third time and hoping for a busy shift. And that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I just needed a comment on an interview I listened to with Imam Ayman Soliman, if you've been following this. It's so disheartening that this is right down the street in our county with our tax dollars in one form or the other. This is one of our brothers, right? Like, because we're all immigrants unless you're indigenous. You all came from somewhere. So this is something that I think about what the Fairfield Fire Police Chief just did about outing one of their firefighters. They let one of them go because of some dishonest thing that was done that happened in the past or uncovered. And I'm like, this is why people love firefighters, because there is this code of honor to rooting out anyone who does not meet that code of honor. And so listening to the Imam speak about the way he was treated in the Butler County Jail, he said there's a lot of nice officers, but there were some that humiliated him, violated his religious freedom, emotionally and kind of physically tortured them. So I would encourage, the person or people who did that live in our county or near us. Out them. Who are they? So these are our neighbors. This is intolerable in our presence. So even something that simple, like if you know who they are, that is not acceptable here. We can talk about federal policy and everything else, but this is a neighbor who is torturing a brother and who happened to be released from prison because he never committed a crime. The only crime was being a refugee and seeking asylum in America. So, I encourage, if you know any Butler County jail workers, I'm sure you know who they are. So let's try to figure this out.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Amber.
I'd like to echo what Councilor French said, to just thank ASG. They had a Meet the Candidates Forum, and also the League of Women Voters, just leaning into democracy and giving opportunities for people to hear from the people who are running for office. So thank you so much for that. And speaking of conversation and a coffee, so we did get some intense emails about came in, and I'd never known this person before, but I emailed them right back and said, hey, do you want to get together at Cafeña and just talk about some of your concerns? And so to my surprise, they responded within a couple hours. And we spent about an hour chatting in Kafenya about their concerns, and it was nice to meet a new person. And, you know, people are really passionate, and sometimes I've sent my share of angry emails before, but they were a lovely person. And so I hope we can have more opportunities when people, as Chad had said, sometimes friction allows opportunity for conversation and moving things forward. And so, so thank you for all your work in responding to everyone, even when it's a little bit heated. So thank you.
So one of the things that I've brought up before is one of those things that's probably the biggest thing happening in town, but it's not really been on our agenda, which again is Miami is considering probably the largest transformation of their campus in at least as a capital project in their history, which has consequences for the whole community, traffic and aesthetics and the budget of Miami University if you happen to work for Miami. And so I guess it's one of those things that people think that because the Board of Trustees chose a location that it's a done deal. It's not. The university and the Board of Trustees is still exploring. They're trying to do the design. And so I guess what I'm saying is that it's one of these times in which if people have thoughts about the project, and I would say, maybe some of you have seen there's some of the folks in sociology and gerontology developed a survey that's circulating in the community to do the kind of questions about what the community thinks about the impacts would be that Miami didn't itself really do. But so if you see that and you're interested in sharing, it's not an official survey, but it would be a way of gauging sentiment. Like many of us have feelings, but am I the only one who has the feelings about it? But then I guess I also just would say, you know, as the city of Oxford, whether we want to have a say or a voice. I mean, we passed a resolution last December that kind of asked for a seat at the table, and if there were, you know, and as a project that, and I don't know what kind of seat at the table we've had in the planning phase of this or conversations. I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot, Sam, but I guess I'm just saying that the decision is not yet made about the go, no-go, or how big, or all those sorts of things, and maybe it's speak now or forever hold our peace. Maybe it has no consequences for us, for the city of Oxford, but I think like as in an unrelated project, there is planned demolition of structures that are inside a city-designated historic district. You know, do we want to have a say or not? We obviously have a relationship with Miami University, but you know, in some of these conversations, like with fire, sometimes we have to use our voice to assert what we think should happen. And so I just put it out there. You know, I'm not. If anybody else has thoughts on what our say would be or whether we want to have a voice, you can talk to me and we can put our heads together. Or maybe Miami does its thing and the buildings are demolished and the site is developed. So I'll just stop at that.
Thank you. My message today is just that our next council meeting will be held on Election Day, and that means this is my last chance to encourage everyone to vote. It's one of the things that sets our democracy apart from many parts of the world, that we have the opportunity, and I think the obligation, to pay attention to what's going on and to exercise our right to vote. And there are city council races and there are school board races that really make a difference in our community. I want to recognize some of the council candidates who have come to our council meetings, and I see Jim Vench sitting there, who has been to most of our meetings, and I appreciate that. And I think that what that does is when other candidates as well as yourself have been here is to see what is happening and to really be knowledgeable before the date. It's up to the citizens to determine who those people are. And so I encourage you to investigate, read the articles in the Oxford Free Press that have identified backgrounds of these people. I hope that you took advantage, those who were interested in the event at the OCAC, and there are a lot of opportunities yet existing to talk to candidates, talk to people, but let's get out there and really vote this time and show that Oxford cares. And with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
So moved.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. We're adjourned.
Yeah, that's what we're sleep.
I
They said
know.
we'll be,
Well,
get reelected.
the goal is to stay awake until
Well, we won't, we might not know yet.
that's our goal.
Okay,
I-
you're almost there.
Well
Is
underway.
it 8 hours?
Six.
I wonder if this is, what voicemail is this? It's not, apparently we got, spam at work around,